Well, hello again, everyone. I'm Kurt Diekman, the Director of Program Development here for HOCK International. And with me today, I want to introduce you to Dr. Samuel Zaruba. He's a faculty member at the Douglas von Allman School of Accountancy and the Center for Data Analytics in the Gatton College of Business and Economics at the University of Kentucky, where he teaches undergraduate and graduate level classes. He spent a decade consulting and working in technology organizations, financial organizations, healthcare organizations, public utility, various government organizations, including the National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and a mess of Fortune 500 companies, including Microsoft, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who we love, Bank of America, AT&T, and Amazon Web Services. He holds an undergraduate degree in economics, a master's degree in information accounting systems, and his PhD research was done at the University of Nevada with interdisciplinary research at their Center for Cybersecurity. So, Samuel, I'm thrilled to have you join us today and be providing some of this information that people can use in our resource library.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great. So, I wanted to start a little bit with you're working at the University of Kentucky and you're educating college age and postgraduate type folks. What is it about teaching university level folks that you enjoy?
Yeah, so right now is a very interesting time to be in essentially education in general, but particularly in areas that relate to information systems and business processes broadly. So we're kind of right now at the cutting edge of the what are often is called the kind of Web3 or Industrial Revolution number four, fourth Industrial Revolution. You're going to hear this terminology a lot. AI is what people call, how software is eating the world. Right now, AI is kind of eating the world.
Yep.
So literally everything we're doing is trying to keep up with this super staggering pace of new AI and new just technology broadly coming into play. And so I'm really enjoying right now just working with students who have never really done any kind of programming. And they're now using AI to do things that 5 or 10 years ago, you'd have to be an expert in programming to do. And so it's very exciting to see someone who has really very little background in any kind of programming areas, but has somewhat of a math background, and getting them to do tasks in computer related areas that, they're essentially using a generative AI to write the vast majority of code for them.
Yeah.
And they come in with almost zero programming background themselves. And so it's really interesting to see, okay, this person goes in just 1 month from essentially zero to at least somewhat capable in a variety of technical areas very rapidly. That's one of the most exciting things I'm seeing right now.
Very neat. And it's weird that in a field like accounting or finance, I mean, this stuff is taking over a lot of not only the basic functions of things that we're doing, but as far as report reading and generation, all the way into more advanced stuff. I'm assuming that ongoing learning is going to be almost a prerequisite of the job now, that there's no moment where you feel like you know everything and you've mastered everything there is to know about the profession.
Yeah, so what is interesting also there is that a variety of professions all often require continuing education. That's been the case for a very long time. But nowadays we're seeing the value of certifications more and more. When I've seen data on how much average salaries are for various occupations, that salary boost has been a certification. And
Yeah.
so a vast majority of students I talk to are interested not only in a degree, but they're also into a certification as well.
Right. And that's the thing that, obviously that's our business and that's why we want to do it. But it's good that there's a focus on sort of continued and advancing education throughout the career. Your background and specifically what we started talking about with you was blockchain and AI. What are you seeing developments with those two things having an effect on the accounting profession as a whole?
Yeah, so the AI thing is very broad. AI is the big tent, as you would say, right? AI is going to impact virtually every single area of business in some capacity. So I'm going to start with blockchain and particularly blockchain smart contracts because that's a little more digestible. And so the area of blockchain smart contracts in terms of its adoption, really we're seeing a large amount of jurisdictions that encourage the use of this technology. And really what it's doing is it's automating much of the manual oversight, the need for various human oversight regarding, say, brokers or holding things in escrow or anything around essentially the business relationship between two parties who may not trust each other 100%. So
Yeah.
in terms of, say, even even more than two parties, arguably. So when you have this kind of technology and it allows for parties who don't trust each other 100%, these are various different businesses, government organizations, partnership organizations, where they want to make sure that the initial contract that's been developed between two organizations or multiple organizations is going to be held on to, and that whatever is in the contract will be the case. This is where this kind of technology, it can really rapidly increase just the amount of groups you can do business together and decrease the cost of doing all those things. So in areas like procurement, supply chain management, accounts payable, anything where there's essentially a routine process of either credit transfer, money transfer, currency transfer, or even items transfer, like trade
Mhm.
or and things like this. That's where we're seeing huge value in terms of automation regarding blockchain smart contracts. And in particular, we're seeing it in on the corporate side. So you very often, people associate blockchain and things like this with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies and these kind of other areas. And that's actually not where we're seeing the huge investment space. Yes, there always is investment into cryptocurrencies and things like that in terms of that ecosystem. But really, the big uptick more recently has been what's called private permission blockchains, where a single company or a group of companies own their own private custom blockchain network, doing it so that they can essentially get the same advantages, the same cost reduction advantages, and just the same communication advantages that you're seeing in these crypto communities as well. And so right now, there's a big uptick in just small and medium-sized businesses, large organizations who are having what are called private permission blockchain and smart contracts in those environments, because they don't want to deal with the crypto environment and all the fraud and all the other things that go along with crypto.
Right.
They want to have all those crypto advantages, but in a way that their organization and their partnerships can control. And
So
so
it's
that's where a huge uptick.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it seems like it's more if the data, if you can privately control it, and if your data is good and it's accurate, then that whole trust factor and that whole fraud factor, to by and large, kind of go out the window a little bit, right?
Yes, completely. And really, not only does it go out the window, but you were compared to traditional legal contracts and traditional software in general, you can
Yeah.
heavily reduce the amount of fraud, the amount of just theft off the shelves. There's a lot of technical terms there regarding what that is, but just in terms of the amount of risk, your risk profile heavily decreases when you start integrating blockchain smart contracts and blockchains broadly with more legacy software systems. And so
Okay.
if you have a lot of your financial work done in a software system and it's not in pencil and paper and things like that, adopting blockchain smart contracts essentially is a no-brainer, because yes, you might think it's more complicated in terms of, oh, we have to train new engineers, or we have to go out and purchase expensive talent or whatever, and that's no longer the case. The ability to have traditional software stacks like Java, JavaScript, things like this, develop systems that are private permission blockchains is available. And it's also, the cost of it has been greatly reduced in recent years. And so it's in terms of both fraud, in terms of risk reduction, in terms of risk profile, it makes a ton of sense to go that direction. And we're seeing the Fortune 500 do it. And now we're finally seeing small and small and medium-sized businesses do it as well.
Good. So it's able to be scaled down to actually almost any level at this point.
Yes, I mean, the open source frameworks that are available for groups like IBM, the Linux Foundation, that will allow any company to create a small private permissioned smart contract. The costs have dropped exponentially within the last 5 years.
That's fascinating. That's going to be a huge push for us, which again, that's kind of the next question I wanted to talk to you about. Was there's all this progress going on. You said we're moving at light speed with the technology and how it's all changing. What other kind of progress is out there that you think is going to hit into accounting and finance here coming up in the next, I don't know, 3, 5, 7 years?
Yeah, I think especially in areas that are essentially white collar jobs, particularly ones that require a lot of brain power, and finance and accounting are definitely two of the main areas. Legal is the other main area I would say too,
Okay.
is um, what are called AI agents or agentic systems you're often hearing. And this is, I mean, everyone's probably, my students are all using it. Everyone's probably very aware of how generative AI, ChatGPT, LLMs, things like this are so useful as one-off type solutions, right? Hey, we want to build out a report. We want to create a, legal contract. These type of, these business use cases are already pretty well documented in terms of a single action, right? You give a prompt to the AI, it creates that report. You give the data to the AI, it creates a report. You give your requirements for a legal document to the AI, it creates that kind of baseline legal document you can use to modify and things like that. Those are all pretty well documented use cases. The ones we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years are where you give a single AI one prompt, but then it does much more than just giving you back a single response. It goes out on the web, talks to 50 different other AIs, and
Okay.
then generates something based on that. So we're going to stop seeing where it's human to AI respond. And it's this back and forth system that takes a lot of time. Age system customer has a request like, what is the best investment for me given my age, my income status, my, whatever other demographics about this individual. And rather than having the AI come up with a single kind of one-shot plan for this individual, it goes out and talks to your own bank. It talks to your own current investment, groups that you already have 401k and things like this. And it does all this kind of research work for you. It talks to a variety of other AIs that are passing your information back and forth in an encrypted manner. And so it's really just this exponential growth of the number of conversations AIs are having with other AIs that delivers a much more comprehensive product. And so really in a variety of areas, we're seeing this agentic AI just do really amazing things. I mean, if you think about how many skills someone used to have to create, say, a software app or things like this, you can now have people who have never developed software in their life arguably develop software in one day that's as good as someone would take a few months who already had been trained for years to do it in the past. So just this amount of progress we're seeing in these agentic systems is just, it's mind-boggling at this point.
See, and that's the thing that I've always heard about AI, and in my experience with it has been that sort of the more concise and the more specifically direct you ask a question, the better the response from that particular software is going to come back to you. But now if you're talking that AI is going to talk to its own world of AI partners or symbionts or whatever you want to call them into this thing where you can ask the complex question and it comes back with all the research and can handle that sort of prompt, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of accounting education, prompt engineering, and really financial business education broadly, prompt engineering will probably replace a lot of, intro to SQL, intro to some kind of Excel data analysis,
Okay.
things like this. All that kind of work that was that kind of on the ground reporting, working in Excel, having your analytics analyst work with the database or whatever that is. That domain knowledge aspect will allow, if you're a domain knowledge specialist in accounting or finance, you won't necessarily need that analyst anymore because you can talk in English to the AI and the AI can be that analyst. So you don't have to have a team of, here's our 10 analysts that support our 5 accountants or CPAs or financial specialists, CFAs, whatever they are. You can now have, here's our brand new CPAs and CFAs who are just out of college, and they can also do all that same work that the analysts were doing as well, because they can now use an AI to do much of that for them.
Wow. That's going to be light years ahead of where it is. If you don't have to master SQL and Excel to be efficient at the job, it's a game changer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, if you could offer advice to people in financial services about the world out there right now, what would it be? I mean, I assume that stay smart and stay engaged is going to be one of those things, but what else kind of comes to mind?
Sure. So I think right now we're seeing, because of what we just talked about, how the analyst skills and some of these other more technical skills, they're becoming more what's called democratized, where everyone can do them because of new technologies and things like that. The two things I would say that are most important right now, number one is soft skills. We're seeing a lot more employers value soft skills when it comes to the interview process versus what it was a while back. The other one is the value of certifications is going up, because how else do you view potential employees if everyone can do these more technical things now, right? If we can't test someone on their Excel knowledge very easily, or we can't test someone on various other kinds of kind of hard skill knowledge as easily as we used to be able to. Having that kind of legal knowledge, having the policy knowledge, and having those kind of certification knowledge becomes more important, right? And so it's going to essentially force every kind of entry level analyst, entry level CPA, entry level CFA, financial professional, so on and so forth. It's going to force everyone to become more a generalist, and having patients that having those skills become more necessary for the average individual. So I would definitely highlight soft skills, and then moving.
Yeah, you froze up here a little bit on me, no big deal. But that, yeah, again, the certifications is kind of our core business. And then this resource library, we're loading up a bunch of that soft skill stuff because we've heard the importance of people coming out and being prepared, not just to be well skilled at the job, but also being able to engage and being able to understand and be able to process the human side of it as well. So that's really great to hear. I did want to mention, like I said, I'm going to put all your information. I'll put your bio and I'll put everything here in the links that are down below the thing. But I did want to mention before we left, outside of what we've got here, you also host a podcast with a company called Cognicore.
Yeah, so I work occasionally with a company called Cognicore. They're a consulting firm. I can provide my LinkedIn details wherever if you want to reach out.
Yeah.
They're a great consulting company. They specialize particularly in essentially emerging technologies. They do a lot of work with government groups, government regulated industries in particular. But I help them host their podcast. I have a number of other friends of mine, other universities, other PhDs I know, and things like that. I provide a number of guests to them who are great, excellent PhDs, smart people who are experts in particular areas. People have deep experience in particular industries, for example. I recently had a friend of mine who specializes in the VC startup funding world, for example. So if you're interested in that kind of getting your first startup funded or your second startup funded, and how funding operates and the things that VCs look for when they're funding startup companies and things like that, definitely look at some of our most recent episodes. I've had some great experts on from industry and for people who specialize in studying how startups get funded and things like that.
That's cool. So yeah, like I said, we love having your information and the stuff you're going to put on here, but there's a whole nother world of stuff that with folks out there at Cognicore that I would encourage anybody who's watching this and who's one of our customers to go ahead and take a peek at those as well, just to expand your horizons. It's fascinating stuff to listen to. I'll let you get out of here on my last two little simple questions. So are you a cat person, a dog person, a both person, or a neither person?
I grew up with many dogs, many animals in general, goats, sheep, ducks, birds, every kind of lizard or snake you can imagine. I had as a pet as a kid at some point. So definitely more of a dogs person because they always helped me protect the animals that were in the backyard and things like that.
Very cool, very cool. And you're here in the Midwest as well, but are you a winter person, a spring, summer, fall? What's your season that you like?
I'm definitely more of a summer person. I can travel more in the summer, and I prefer the hot weather. I have lived in a variety of very hot weather states. I went to school for a while in Arizona, 120-degree summers and things like that, and did PhD work at University of Nevada.
The dry heat, right?
Yeah, the dry heat. So I like that heat. I much prefer the 120-degree than the -10 or whatever it is.
Right on, right? You don't have to shovel sunshine.
Yep.
Good. Well, this is
Thanks
Samuel
so much,
Zaruba.
Kurt.
I appreciate you being on. Like I said, folks, take a look at the classes that he's put together for us. They're fascinating, super informative. We will be adding more of his stuff as the months and years go on. So pay attention to him, listen to what he has to say, because he's a very smart guy. So Sam, we appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Yeah, and anyone who's listening to this, love to have you in some of our classes. Look for the feedback you give us to our material. We can always try to improve and make it better and things like that. So if you have any feedback for blockchain smart contracts or anything else like that, love to hear about it. Always looking for new input on our courses.
Love it. Love it. We'll talk soon, Sam. Thank you much.
Take care, Kurt.